All right, welcome again, beautiful people, to the Soul Ashraya podcast, a weekly Bhakti podcast. We shall seek the shelter and wisdom of our dear Lord Krishna through Shastra, prayer, and conversation. I am your host, Bhakti Jake. And with me is my very good friend and teacher, Balaram Shakti Das. And we have a very nice guest who I will not mention, but it's always nice to have people zooming in with us. And we appreciate them very, very much. Balaram, you are wearing a beautiful green shirt. Can you tell me about that shirt?
It's actually teal.
Oh.
But I guess turquoise.
I'm going to write that down. Hold on. Let me write that down. Teal.
I actually got this in Vrindavan.
Oh, wow.
Am I matching?
Oh, cool. Yeah. I like
it was really sweet, matching set, which is hard to do, but I was able to find at this one store. So
yeah, I like those.
It's actually like, honestly, I was wearing saffron for about half a year, and I loved that so much for so many reasons, but in particular the clothing. Like, I do not like at all having to like pick out what I'm wearing. Like, I really feel for the ladies. Like, it's a lot, and it's like a responsibility that you have to look nice. Whereas guys just like, oh, like this fits and this fits. Okay, we're good. So, wearing saffron, you literally lose zero energy in having to think about what you're wearing. And it's just like you grab a pair from the closet and you start your day. And so that's what I love about like this set. It's like easy. Okay, I'm wearing this dhoti and this kurta. Jai.
Yeah, I can just imagine that, like a closet just all saffron. This one. But that's the cool thing about Krishna consciousness is like you get to wear really cool clothes and you get to wear like things, like I don't know, like I got this thing here. It's kind of like a scarf, like you get to wear scarves and stuff, I love it. Just do like that with it,
Yeah, cheddar, you can do so many things with a cheddar. That's why you keep it nice and neat here.
Yeah.
So it's any need.
I make mine out of old curtains.
Don't worry. Anybody new, you do not have to wear curtains or bed sheets in this moment.
I mean, it saves a lot of money. Those things, I mean, you go on Etsy and scarves are like, like 10, 15 bucks, I mean, dude, that's a lot, That's a lot when you're just an iron worker.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So you got to go to Vrindavan. You get a set like this for like pennies,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I heard is you can go over to India and you can pick up just a ton of.
And this is the best cloth. Yeah. It's like cotton. It's cotton.
Yeah.
It's actually what Gandhi wore. The shirt is not Gandhi. This is not what Gandhi wore. But it's like hand spun, cotton. Yeah. And you can see, there's like the little knots in it, and it's, and it's just like it's so comfortable. It's the most comfortable thing. You might, feel like you look weird when you're walking into, the grocery store and you're wearing sheets. But, here in the desert, you can look at everybody else that's wearing pants and be like, I'm getting air through these legs, and you're jealous. This feels great. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because, you know, out in Arizona, they got that dry heat.
You love that so much. Oh, I didn't tell you. I don't think. We were on Harinam and we're, you know, going down the street, right? Like the main street. And there's this one store with, you know, like artisanry, like pottery stuff. And there was one piece of pottery, like a tile, and it had this skeleton with a, you know, hat on, like a cowboy hat. And they said it's a dry heat.
That's like the best thing. Like that's never gonna go away as long as you're in Arizona. I'm always gonna bring that up. Try to bring it up on every show, actually. But no, I mean that's the cool. I mean, devotees have awesome fashion. I mean, just like check out what the women wear. It's like the most beautiful thing. And it's like they could literally go from like doing Harinam Sankirtan out in the street to like being up on like go out to like a dance and a dinner or like some like fancy event, you know? Like
it's like it literally looks like they just came from a wedding, you know. Like in Mayapur, as you go to Mayapur, you'll just be floored. Like, be careful if you're a single man in Mayapur. Like, wearing saffron there was a real blessing because you just like everywhere you look, it's just like these beautiful women, like young women. It's just like, my God, are you like getting married today or something? And if you're not, you know, are you interested?
well, that brings up a good point because okay, we were just talking about the saffron, and I guess we just assume that everyone watching the show knows what that means. So, hey, what does that mean? What does the saffron robe mean when you wear that? Let me know. Let us know, mate.
What's that? Okay, yeah. Yeah. So let me just try to zoom out from my own perspective for a minute, because I think about like family members and just people, like you're saying, have no idea like what saffron is. The closest thing that people would associate saffron with are Buddhist monks, right? Generally, that's in the West, that's what you think of when you see saffron. It's like, oh, like those robes that Buddhist monks wear. Yes, like that, similar to that, but it's a different lineage. So it's not necessarily exactly the same. And so there are a few different types of saffron, what do you say, classifications. So you have in the classic sense, it is karma sannyas wears saffron. Karma sannyas means you have renounced all material activities. Like, you are essentially dead to the world. And so, like, traditionally people would clothe their dead family members in saffron. You know, when they die, you put saffron on the corpse. And saffron represents fire. So it's like the burning away of all material attachments. And so when you die, you know, you're dead. So you wear this color now. And, you know, then you ascend the funeral pyre generally. Unless you're a sannyasi in life. This is super interesting. It's a little far out, but in India, in the Vedic culture, only sannyasis are buried under the ground. Everyone else is burned, because a sannyasi, their body is actually sanctified because they burned their karmic attachments during life. So now, you know, their body is holy, essentially. And so it's actually like, it's okay, there's a lot there. Generally, when we die, we take our subtle body with us, right? That's what happened, because we're so attached to our subtle body. I was speaking about this last night, actually. And we did get into this several shows back with Krishna's analogies to Uddhava about like the screen and the actor and the drama and those analogies, like the tree reflects on water. When the water moves, it looks like the tree's moving. So it's like, this is us looking at the screen of our life. And this is the analogy Krishna gives is like when we're looking at our smartphones, right? We get glued to the screen, right? Of course, Krishna, I'm paraphrasing Krishna here because, you know, smartphones didn't exist. So it looks, whatever's moving on the screen, we identify with and we say, oh, I'm moving. You know, we're also, our emotions are moving according to the actor on the screen, right? Which is our mind and body. You know, so that subtle body, Krishna is saying to Uddhava, you're not that subtle body. You're not that actor. You're the soul. You're the tree that's on land. Like, you're not moving at all. You're completely distinct from the water and that reflection. That's not actually you. It's just a reflection. But Uddhava's like, well, if that's the case, you know, why is it so difficult for me not to identify with that? And so Krishna's saying, well, you know, this is just how it works, you know, in like theater theory, you know, it talks a lot about it, like rasa theory. It talks about how like we transfer emotions and emotional states are transferred, you know, when we're witnessing things, and you know, our energy is basically getting put into these things, and we're investing our energy in the screen, in the actor, in the drama, and we automatically identify with it. So the Sanskrit texts actually treat this subject like very, you know, in depth and detailed. So the subtle body, right? So we get really like dug into the subtle body, and we really think that that's us. Like whatever happens to our body and whatever experiences our mind goes through, we completely readily identify with that. Whereas the whole process of yoga is to separate ourselves from the subtle body and to relink ourselves with God and our spiritual identity, to not identify with this world, you know, that's fleeting, superfluous, transient, illusory, cause of misery, right? We have to kind of get out of that. So the sannyas literally means to go down and take out the whole roots, to totally uproot your attachments. You know, our roots are keeping us bound to this illusory world and body. And so they've already done that. So their subtle body has been disconnected in a sense from the soul. So the soul can acts through them while it's in the body, but it's no longer bound. So when they leave their body, they leave their subtle body behind. Whereas us, when we leave our body, we take our subtle body and it gets ripped out of our body, and that's called death. And that's very painful. It's actually a very traumatic kind of experience. And then when that happens, when death occurs, then you have to take birth. Krishna says, wherever there's birth, there must be death, and whoever dies must be born. So death means your subtle body is forced out of the gross body, whereas the sannyas, the true sannyas, is one who doesn't die in that sense. It just, his soul moves on and goes to the spiritual world, actually. And the way to go to the spiritual world is to leave your subtle body behind. So that's what we're doing here. So a sannyasi wears saffron to represent, saffron basically is representing this process of burning all of our attachments with the subtle body. And so a sannyasi is buried, his body is buried in the ground because his subtle body is still there. It's like, whoa, you know, there's no animating soul there, but the mind and intelligence of that sannyasi is still there. And, you know, you can see these, like Kadamba Swami, they parade them, parade isn't the word, but they bring them on a palanquin around town, you know, so like, so everyone can kind of take darshan. And you look at that, you look at their corpse, and it's like, it's trippy. It's like, it doesn't look like a dead body in a sense. I mean, it definitely is clearly a dead body, but it's like, there's some like thing still in there. It's like, what is that? So they say, yes, that's their subtle body. It's still there. So we're going to keep it there, and we're going to put it in the earth so that the whole consciousness of the planet can be benefited. You know, whereas the rest of us, we're not benefiting the planet. Like, the quicker this gets just burned to ashes, you know, the better, because we're polluting everything, you know. Anyway, some side thoughts on that. So yeah, so that's saffron, and sannyasis. Sannyas is a spiritual order. In our movement, we have 2 orders that wear saffron. So I was wearing saffron. That doesn't mean I was a sannyasi. I'm not, you know, by a long shot. Also, so sannyas is the final spiritual order. The first order is brahmachari. And so male brahmacharis also wear saffron, or they can. They don't always. Generally, you start with white, which is universal spiritual color.
Yeah.
Saffron, it's not as universal. Like, not all spiritual, like pretty much every spiritual tradition honors the wearing of white, of all white, you know, or at least one solid color to the exclusion of all others. And
black.
What's that? What?
Black.
Okay, I'm just gonna keep
black.
Yeah, there's also that.
I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Which it's kind of this. I mean, not that I'm like super learned in that. It's kind of the same principle. Like, white is reflecting everything, in the sense that, like, I'm not. They're both for transmutation. Actually, all monastic orders are for transmutation of energy. You know, so the black, it's sort of like you're taking in energy of the world and you're transmuting that. White, it's like, I'm just trying to heal the whole world, sort of thing. That's kind of my interpretation. And so saffron, generally, yeah, you start with white. It's like, you know, white, it's reflective. So you're not getting entangled in things and like other people's energy. You're just reflecting that back. It's like, no, I just want to shine. I'm not trying to absorb your stuff. So like, you look at your friends, I mean, not to make judgments, but it's like, we all have friends that generally wear black a lot, sometimes every day, even in Tucson, and middle of summer. It's like, what do you do? Why?
And that's kind of why I said that, is because, like, you know, like all my, you know, acquaintances in the music scene, like their uniform is literally black every day, like from head to toe. And it's like, I got away from that. I don't think I have even worn a black t-shirt in quite a long time. I try to stick to white or red or orange, or like greens, a lot of greens. Try to get some greens or gray, because I really think that the clothes that you wear actually really do affect your consciousness. I absolutely believe that, for real. I guess this is a fact that they actually do, you know. So
it's a fact. Yeah. You can look it up on Google. It's real science. No, it is. So yeah, so brahmachari is also, okay, I'm gonna try to just really wrap this up. Brahmacharis wear saffron as well. And that's kind of non-traditional. That generally it's only the sannyas, or like the full renunciate. Whereas brahmachari, generally brahmachari, like in other traditions, like universally, the student monk will just wear all white because they're a student. So brahmachari means you're a student and you're staying celibate during your training until you reach a certain adhikar qualification that you can enter the next order, which is the married life, family life. And then, you know, you've been a student, you've learned about Atma-tattva, you know, the science of the soul, science of God, and how to stay in the mode of service in the world as opposed to getting entangled. So like, this is the training that obviously our world is lacking so much, because we're just entangling each other in selfish service as opposed to selfless. So the saffron is adopted for monks of the brahmachari order in our tradition because the purpose is a little bit augmented for ISKCON or for Gaudiya, Vaishnava, brahmacharis, in that we're not just students, we're also preachers. And also the sannyas order was not traditionally taken up by our lineage until Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami reintroduced it. The previous, do you know who the last person before him was to wear saffron in our movement?
I'm going to pass on that question.
Who's the most famous sannyasi in the Hare Krishna movement? It's a hint.
Prabhupada? He was in that chart. Oh, we're talking before.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur?
No, he wasn't a sannyasi.
I was actually going to say that too. I was totally going to say that, but
go back about 500.
Oh,
Lord Chaitanya.
Lord Chaitanya. So Lord Chaitanya took sannyas, and none of his followers took sannyas. The reason that he took sannyas was for preaching purposes, strictly speaking. I mean, he has multi-purposes in everything he does, being the Lord. But it's generally Vaishnava does not take sannyas because a Vaishnava is higher than sannyas. Because sannyas, again, it's to uproot the attachments, it's to finish your material life. Vaishnava is beyond that. Vaishnava means you're already acting on a spiritual platform. You're not acting on a material platform. So like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and all of these other acharyas, they were coming from the spiritual world already. They're already on a spiritual platform. So he took Babaji initiation. Babaji is beyond what comes after sannyas. You can take Babaji, which is just, you are totally not of this world. Whereas a sannyas, they're in the world, they're preaching, and their main duty is to preach, is to spread the gospel. So brahmacharis in our movement also wear saffron because our purpose, our role is to preach as well. And so the saffron color is very empowering to do that. It really does shift your consciousness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then most brahmacharis will then at a certain point take off saffron to enter grahastha ashram, which is, my current status of residing in a household, taking care of household affairs, being in the world, like working. And so most of our worlds, keeps that ashram. But for the more civilized sectors of society, these other spiritual orders are also there. And that's one of the purposes of ISKCON, is to kind of revive that. Or of the, our movement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Hopefully that was helpful.
Absolutely. That was, I'm so glad I asked, because it's so funny that we, there's just perfect timing for every little detail in this show and what we're talking about. And a lot of that stuff I had wondered about too, like why these colors and why do they mean what they do, and all this stuff that you never ask until you have an opportunity.
I think we talked about this in Mantra Central in Syracuse, because they have the 5 acharyas there on the altar, nice little figures of them, and 2 of them are wearing orange and 3 are wearing white. Why? What does it mean?
I always wondered that, why is that guy like that? Why is that guy like that? I'm so glad I asked. That was a very good explanation. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, so those are Babajis. There's very few Babajis in our movement, actually. Babaji is that's, beyond Paramahamsa. It's pretty amazing. But yeah, Bhaktisiddhanta, though, he took the saffron sannyas order, and it's amazing that he came down to sannyas, whereas we're miles, light years away from sannyas. He actually came down. He was beyond liberated stage, perfect Vaishnava. But for purposes of preaching, he took sannyas, and it was difficult for a lot of, namely his contemporaries. They couldn't understand it, but his vision was very, very broad. He had very broad vision, and he engaged he was the first sannyasi to ever use an automobile, things like that, like utilizing modern technology for preaching purposes. He could do that because he's Bhaktisiddhanta. He understands the conclusion of the scriptures, and how to use material energy without being entangled. Whereas other sannyas contemporaries were like, "What are you doing? You're engaged. You're using material energy." He's like, "You don't understand sannyas." Anyway, getting a little fired up there.
So,
do you want to start reading?
Yeah. If we're gonna read,
was there anything else you wanted to?
This is good though. This is good that we, that we actually do take time to, get into topics like these, because this is, I guess you could call it just as important. I think it's on the same level. If not, it's very, very, very close. So, yeah. Let's do our invocations, and then we shall read. Prabhu.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarne Vanchakalpatarubhischa Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Oh.
I was just thinking, Jake, do you have text of those mantras that you're able to read and follow along?
I actually do. I have them right over here.
Nice.
And I'm so very close to having them memorized.
Cool.
I still have to kind of look at them, but I by repeating them every day, I actually, when I put anything on the altar, which I usually do every day, I go through those exact mantras. Kishori actually printed them out for me.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I was thinking we could even make a screen share. Sometimes like Bhagavatam class on Zoom, we'll do that. We'll have a screen of just the Mangala Charan, invocation prayers, so that people watching can follow along. And even like maybe English translations. I can't like recite the full like English translation for all those. I could just paraphrase them, but that might be nice.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. Absolutely. Yeah. To be able to have that up on the screen while we're reciting it. Absolutely. That would be a breakthrough. That would be some breakthrough stuff. That would yeah. That
really professional.
Super.
Put a border on it.
Yeah, a border.
No, my first idea was you should take a picture of your sheet of paper, or like hold the piece of paper over the screen.
Totally professional.
That would be the most simple way to do it. Okay. All right, I'll work on that.
Okay.
Okay, we are reading from Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada.
Jai.
Jai. Okay, yeah, I think second paragraph, second full paragraph on 22.
Yep.
Yeah. So Krishna's talking with his principal potency, Yogamaya, the personification, or one of the personifications of his feminine energy. And he just listed a bunch of other names by which the goddess is generally known. And yeah, we talked quite in depth about that yesterday. Now he's about to mention his other expansion of Balaram. So this is really incredible. Like nowhere else are you going to find such detailed, concise explanation of the Godhead. So let's read two paragraphs that talk about this male. So we have the female expansion of the Godhead of Krishna, which is the energies. And then there's the male expansion of the Godhead, which is the Purusha, which that's all the male Godhead. But it's just Krishna expands that masculine aspect of the Godhead in various ways. Some are just Krishna's own Swayam Prakash expansions, and then there's also, and all the other expansions of God are through Balaram. And so he's going to tell Yogamaya a little bit of his plan of how that facet or aspect of God is going to also manifest on the earth. All right, do you want to read, or do you want me to read?
Yeah, I can read. I'll read.
All right.
I got it all queued up. I'm right at the Lord also declared to Yogamaya. Okay. The Lord also declared to Yogamaya, my plenary expansion, Ananta Sesa, is within the womb of Devaki. On account of being forcibly attracted to the womb of Rohini, he will be known as Sankarsana and will be the source of all spiritual power, or Bala, by which one can attain the highest bliss in life, which is called Ramana. Therefore, the plenary portion, Ananta, will be known after his appearance either as Sankarsana or as Balaram. In the Upanishads, it is stated, Nayam Atma Bala Hanya Labhyahaya. The purport is that one cannot attain. Sorry, I'm trying to move this screen up. Sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, the purport is that one cannot attain the supreme platform of self-realization without being sufficiently favored by Balaram. Bala does not mean physical strength. No one can attain spiritual perfection by physical strength. One must have the spiritual strength which is infused by Balaram or Sankarsana, Ananta, or Sesa. Sesa is the source of the power which sustains all the planets in their different positions. Materially, this sustaining power is known as the law of gravitation, but actually it is a display of the potency of I'm so
Darshan.
yes, of Sankarsana Balaram or Sankarasana is the source of spiritual power or the original spiritual master. Therefore, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, who is also the incarnation of Balaram, is the original spiritual master, and the spiritual master is the representative of Balaram, the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who supplies the spiritual strength in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita.
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 That long there, yeah.
Yeah. It is confirmed that the spiritual master is the manifestation of the mercy of Krishna. Should I do one more?
No, let's stop there.
Yes, let's do that. Perfect.
So, yeah, this is incredible section here, very concisely outlining who is Balaram.
Yeah.
So you have Krishna, the Supreme Godhead. All spiritual and material energies emanate from him, right? Ham sarvasya prabhu, mata sarvam pravartate. In the 10th chapter, Krishna states. So the material energies emanate from an emanation of the feminine aspect of God, right? So the feminine is energy, or power, as he said on the top of this page. And then the powerful, the energetic, the source of energy is the masculine aspect of God. So Krishna has, in this way, the personifications, the original reality, as we've discussed, the original reality is personhood. So in the spiritual worlds, you have Krishna and you have Krishna's consort or Krishna's sister, and then Krishna's brother. So, and many spiritual personalities of the Godhead in this way. Chaitanya Charitamrita goes very in depth into these personalities, particularly in the science of the Panca-tattva, which 3 of those personalities are being described. 3 of these 5 principal categories of God are being described.
Vara, Bhakta, Vrinda.
No, that's one of them. What are the other names in that mantra? Jaya, Shri,
Nityananda.
Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda.
Oh yeah, okay. Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita, Gadadhara, Sri Vasudeva.
Srivas. Yeah.
Oh,
so
okay.
Srivas, and then Adi, which means beginning with Srivas, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, the forest of the Lord's devotees headed by Srivas.
This is so great because you should know what you're doing when you're reciting mantras. And I knew, like, he wrote like a little English like thing, like, this is what this means under it. But it was like so, I don't know where he got it from, but he gave me the mantras. It was so vague, it was like, oh, these are these guys. And I don't even think it named them by names or what it really means.
Yeah.
And then I hear other things from other people, like, that's a very powerful mantra. Like someone was trying to tell me that mantra is more powerful than the Maha mantra. And I was like, what? I don't know about that. I mean, you hear,
in one sense it is because we have access to the Maha Mantra through the Panca-tattva. So on our side of the equation, we don't have really potency to chant Hare Krishna outside of Balaram, Nityananda. So that is what this section is talking about. The source of all spiritual power is Balaram, is this Ananta Shesha, Sankarshan, various names for this male expansion of the Godhead. And his role is to facilitate service to Krishna, basically. So Krishna, his role is to accept service. Our role as jiva souls, infinitesimal spirit sparks, is to render service. So you have Bhakta, the servitor, you have Bhakti, the service itself, and you have Bhagavan, the recipient of service. So all of these things have to be facilitated. It's not enough to just have you, the individual, and for enlightenment to just be you just realizing yourself. Because you can't exist in a vacuum. Neither can God exist in a vacuum. There is always God, the soul, and service. These three things are always eternally concomitant, right? So the service then plays out in Krishna's two expansions here. So there's Krishna, he receives service, but then how does service exist and how does it get connected with the servitor soul? So that is through Devi, who one of her energies and her supreme energy is Bhakti. So you have Radharani, who is the embodiment of Bhakti, you could say, and then her maidservants. Yes. Also, you have Bhakti Devi, who is totally independent. And then you have Balaram, by whose grace you can be engaged in that Bhakti Devi, in that service. So the original spiritual master is Balaram Nityananda. And this is, okay, so what's occurring is everything is Krishna, right? In one sense, everything is Krishna. All of his energies are emanating from him. So in our life, when we come to spiritual life, when we come to God, right, we have that come to Jesus moment, right, where we feel the grace of God absolving us of all of our sins, right, and we say yes to this path. So what's occurring is we're having an experience of God. And when we turn to God, what occurs is we get taken up under the shelter of his Daivi Prakriti, his superior transcendental spiritual energy. So these two personalities of Devi, Yogamaya, and Balaram, they start acting in our life, as opposed to us being out of touch with God and acting under the spell of the apara prakriti, the inferior energy, material energy. So yeah, so there's the way that this happens in our life is somehow or other the causeless mercy of God touches our heart, right? And then what happens, this is called Shraddha. And so Shraddha means faith. So it means now for the first time in your life, you have awakened your dormant propensity to invest your energy spiritually, right? For your heart to be moved by God and to act in that way. So action means we're putting our energy into something, right? Generally, material life means we're putting our energy into material things, and we see how it frustrates us, right? The heart is never satisfied with that, because it means we're trying to serve ourselves. God doesn't mean you need to invest your energy in him. Don't mind our peacocks.
He's just saying Hare Krishna.
Yeah. God doesn't mean you're investing your energy in him to the exclusion of anything and everyone else. You're investing your energy and your love into the real self, your relationship with God, through which you're able to have substantive relationships in the world with all of God's energies. So we worship Panca-tattva because they are teaching us how to have healthy spiritual relationships with God and his energies, through his energies, right? You can't approach Krishna alone. You can only approach him through Panca-tattva, God with his energies. So Balaram is that link for us, that links us to Radha Krishna. So that manifests as a spiritual master. So God touches your heart, then God manifests himself in these other facets, principally the spiritual master. So the principal way that God enters your life is through Guru, the tattva of Guru. So you have 5 tattvas. You have God, then you have Nityananda, Guru, then you have Advaita, the avatars of God, then you have Gadadhar, the feminine energy, and then you have Shrivas, who just they're right. That's them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, very nice.
That is so beautiful.
Yeah,
that is a beautiful painting. That's perfect. I've seen that painting so many times, and like just a little tiny painting of it. That's like a life-size painting.
Yeah, it's a full wall
mural. Yeah, that's a whole wall.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Srivas is the Bhakta. That's God's energy of you. We are God's energy also. We're also a part of him. But this aspect is the infinitesimal spirit soul that really comes to life, that only really comes to life when we're engaged in a relationship with all the rest of the Panca-tattva. So Krishna manifests in your life as Guru. This is how God works. It doesn't mean that if you don't know who Lord Nityananda is, then you can't possibly be engaged spiritually. No, it's a principle, it's a tattva. So when we understand, it's actually only through the mercy of the spiritual master that we can understand any tattvas of spiritual life, any principles of spiritual science, all come through Guru. So the first thing that happens to us in spiritual life is Guru begins to reveal himself. Ultimately, that leads to taking Vaishnava Guru Diksha, right, where you actually formally accept a spiritual master and he accepts you into the lineage as Krishna's hand extending into your life, saying, now you are mine, you belong to me. Here is your spiritual identity. Here is your sadhana. Here is how to invest your energy spiritually. And here's how you will serve. And now you will no longer entangle yourself in that subtle body. You will no longer, be, growing roots in the material world. You will be growing roots in the spiritual world. So that is the tattva of Balaram, and he manifests in various ways. So, like I said, Vaishnava Guru is kind of like the summit of that. That's the most visceral, in a sense, for lack of a better word, manifestation of Guru Tattva is an actual Diksha Guru, but then you also have Shiksha Gurus, right? Also a person, a like real visceral person who appears in your life to teach you the science of God. But Guru Tattva is also Adi Guru, or not Kshetra, not remembering. Starts with a C. Anyway, the Guru in the heart, right? So ultimately God, that facet of God is in your heart as the Paramatma. So Paramatma is also Balaram Tattva. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah.
That is the principle of the spiritual master guiding you, how to serve. Here's how to be engaged in service.
Yeah.
And then in various subtle ways as well, like when you're reading, you can't read a book like this without Balaram's mercy, because everything that you're learning here, that's Balaram. That is the principle of spiritual power. It's amazing. So this is Guru Tattva manifesting your life. This is the first thing. And then from that, we can learn about all of these other tattvas: Bhakti Tattva, Krishna Tattva, Rasa Tattva, Prema Tattva, Shakti Tattva, right? Jiva Tattva. So yeah, Chaitanya Charitamrita goes into very nice detail of these things, because Panca-tattva appeared on this planet in the flesh 500 years ago, and they displayed all of their internal spiritual activities and relationships in a very wonderful way. Yeah, the power of gravitation, it's also Balaram, like, whoa. Okay. Yeah, that's the material reflection. So it shows you how strong it is. If just a material fragment of this potency is keeping planets, sustaining their orbits and such, then what is the spiritual exhibition of that? It's like Ananta Shesha Naga is the expansion of Balaram that sits at the bottom of the universe, actually like right in the middle of the universe. The lower half of the universe is a causal ocean. The upper half of the universe is material atmosphere. He sits on the waters on top of a tortoise, actually, getting really far out. Actually, the Native Americans believe this, that the world is, sitting on a tortoise. It's like, well, it's sitting on a snake, on a tortoise. How can we understand these things? This is just, it's what the Vedas say, that if you develop spiritual vision and the ability to travel outside of your physical body, you can go down there and see that. That underneath the material universe is Sheshanaga. And actually, the whole universe is also sitting on the hood of a higher, in a sense, we're like one level pulled back of Vishnu. So it's getting really complicated here, but there's, three Purushas we talked about at like one of the first sessions. You've got Karnadakshaya Vishnu or Mahavishnu, from all of the universes expand, and then you have Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, who's the one sitting in each material universe, and then you have Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, who has his own planet, in the upper strata of the universe, and who is also the super soul in everyone's heart. So that first Vishnu, he is actually each of those Vishnus has a Shesha expansion with them. That's the point. They have a Shesha expansion and they have a Lakshmi expansion, or a date. Actually, Karnadakshaya Vishnu, I'm not sure if Lakshmi is. Usually you see him depicted just floating in a sea of like bubbles, and Lakshmi's not there.
Yeah, he's kind of.
Either way, she's always there with him. You can't separate Lakshmi, Shesha, and Vishnu. And these are the principal aspects of God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Is that enough information
weighty subject matter? We're talking about how to worship God on other planets. Hi. Welcome to Sunday afternoon in Rochester, New York. No, it's good though. I know it's crazy. I mean,
just a light conversation to get our day started.
Yeah,
No, it's, even, obviously for myself, the more that we hear these things, hear them in a little bit different angles, and it helps us to understand. It's like we don't think so much about Balaram, or like what that means, how that manifests. It's just like, oh, Balaram, that's Krishna's older brother. Sankarshan, yeah, he's holding up the material universe. Yeah. Okay, well, how do you get that, practical in your life? Yeah. What is your relationship with, God's feminine energy and his masculine energy, So, yeah, this Krishna consciousness really, really outlines it. In one sense, it's very simple, for a simple heart, a simple answer is sufficient. Just chanting Hare Krishna, you're worshiping the Godhead in its most complete sense. Feminine energy is there, masculine aspect is there. Yeah. And that's God. Whereas here we're making a mess of male and female energies. Yeah. Yeah. And so that's enough. That's all but
just to stay kind of grounded, yeah, I mean, it's important that we go through all the writings, because questions come up constantly from new believers, and this is why we're doing this show, is for new believers, or people who are just plain interested, people who want to understand Krishna consciousness, and for whatever reason like to watch us on YouTube. I don't know why you would, but but I mean, because we can relate to people, I think is the charm, if you will. Yeah. And so yeah, it's just important to go over the really far out stuff, because that is an aspect of Krishna consciousness, is it gets really far out, and there's like other planets, other universes, crazy stuff going on out there, and all that crazy stuff. When you answer the question, it will all make sense. All that stuff out there will make sense to you eventually. So it starts off by just doing the Maha Mantra, and then eventually you're like going into outer space somewhere.
Yes. You've heard it here, folks. Jake is promising extraterrestrial travels. No, well, I mean, Prabhupada is giving us this information here, so it's obviously important. Yeah. So we're doing our best. Could we take a little extra time to read one more paragraph to have something that's not just super dry philosophy?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
You want me to read?
If you would like.
All right, hold on. Let me get the screen share up. I'll read. I'm going to read from the book, though. The screen share is so distracting.
I noticed there was one point in another episode you read from the screen, and it was like a typo. It wasn't.
Yeah, it's nice to have it. It gives it kind of a, professional look, I guess. And that's what we strive for professionality on the show. I got to tell you, I can't get over how professional we are sometimes. I mean, it should just be called the Professionality Show. All right, here we go. Okay, so page 22, bottom of page 22 in your books. Thus ordered the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Yogamaya circumambulated the Lord, and then appeared within this material world, according to his order. When Yogamaya, the supreme power of the supremely powerful personality of God, transferred Lord Sessa from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini, both Devaki and Rohini were under Yoga Maya's spell, which is called Yoga Nidra. When this was done, people thought that Devaki's 7th pregnancy had been a miscarriage. Thus, although Balaram appeared as the son of Devaki, he was transferred to the womb of Rohini to appear as her son. After this arrangement, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is always ready to protect his unalloyed devotees, entered within the mind of Vasudeva as the Lord of the whole creation. With full inconceivable potencies, it is understood in this connection that Lord Krishna, first of all, situated himself in the unalloyed heart of Vasudeva and was then transferred to the heart of Devaki. He was not put into the womb of Devaki by seminal discharge. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, by his inconceivable potency, can appear in any way. It is not necessary for him to appear in the ordinary way by seminal injection within the womb of a woman. You want me to stop there or?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's something right there. That is really something.
Yeah.
Switcheroo.
Yeah, so we have a immaculate conception here.
Yeah, super of the super soul.
The supreme.
Yeah.
Immaculate conception.
Yes.
How do
So this is a whole thing. I can see why you wanted to read this one now. Absolutely, action packed.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably more than I'm able to speak on here. I've years ago I heard a talk, probably just last Janmashtami. You know, it's wonderful when that time of year comes around, which is, you know, late summer. It's wonderful hearing from advanced devotees because they'll speak on this passage, like these passages leading up to Krishna's birth, with very deep realization. But I remember hearing something about how for Krishna to appear in our life, it's like through the spiritual master and like how it enters. It's just very mystical, you know, and it's kind of like, you know, the analog here is, you know, conception. It's not through physical means that Krishna is appearing. So it's like he is not dependent on physical means of procreation to appear. It's because he wants us to understand he's not a material personality. You know, he has nothing to do with the material energy. So he's totally above that. But it's, you know, it's something to contemplate. You know, why didn't he just enter directly into Devaki? Why didn't he just go straight into Devaki's heart? Why was it like first into Vasudeva and then into Devaki? What do you think about that?
I think he did it just because he could do it. Just because it's just like any other, like what you were just saying, he has literally nothing to do with the material world whatsoever. Like we are talking about the supreme personality of Godhead. So I guess that's my quick answer on that one. This is literally all new to me. Like, I didn't know that it was an immaculate conception kind of a deal with Krishna at all. So this is really like literally brand new to me. So yeah, this is like kind of blowing my mind right now. Like,
yeah,
so similar. It's
similar to Lord Jesus.
It is. It is in so many ways.
And actually, okay, yeah, nice that you bring that up, because it's like similar thing happened that you could say, or some people say, actually, I'm not going to say that you could say or that we say, but some people say that is actually the angel Gabriel who transferred the soul of Jesus into the womb of Mary. Right? I mean, somehow or other, that soul has to be inserted into the woman. He doesn't just spontaneously appear.
Yeah.
That's impersonal, right? That's just, things don't work like that. There has to be a transfer from male to female, essentially, is
okay. Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's like, and so this transfer, it's a heart transfer. It's not a genital transfer,
Got it.
Yeah. So that's like,
why. That's why.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. This is spiritual procreation, you could say, like spiritual world. It doesn't involve these, lower material faculties. It's not it's not necessary. It's all heart. So it's a little speculative in regards to Gabriel, if the Annunciation was just that, an announcement, or if it was actually, if there was a transference, because when he appeared, Mother Mary became ecstatic. She entered an ecstatic state of communion.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not a scholar in that. So but this is what's happening with Krishna, is that he first enters the mind of Vasudeva and totally enlivens him and allows him to be the bearer and to share that experience with his wife of, now I'm going to impart this divine manifestation into you.
Yeah.
And so likewise, I believe what I had heard in this, which would make sense, is that this is how the spiritual master gives us Krishna. He receives Krishna.
Yeah.
Because that's his position. So Vasudeva is acting in the position of Devaki's spiritual master. Generally, this is how it is for husband and wife, is that the husband is accepted by the wife as her Lord and master. Right? He is her protector.
Right.
He is guru. He is worshipable. And she surrenders to him. And in that surrender, that makes a woman very beautiful, very attractive. It's very attractive to have a wife who is, surrendered to you, because that's what lovers do. And so the husband, likewise, in a complementary way, surrenders to her. Right. And part of that,
that's like the plan anyway. That's the plan.
Well, the problem is we don't surrender to anyone in
That's
material consciousness.
That's it. We have problems here on this level. We are having some serious problems on this level. We're trying to sort this stuff out. This has been going on between men and women forever. And I hate to say it, but it probably, in this age anyway, of Kali Yuga, it's going to go on for sure. But there's a simple outline, and it's just so hard to follow that outline, I guess. I guess that would be, I guess that's what causes problems now.
Yeah, we were talking about this last night in the talk at Mantra Oasis.
Yeah.
Just how we're founding all of our relationships on selfish motives. And so what happens with that is we become sort of jaded in two ways. We become distracted from service, and we become disappointed in lack of the ability of others to fulfill us. So in this way, we hold on to the distractions of maybe this will give me fulfillment, and we hold out on investing our heart in relationships because of disappointment, right? In the shortcomings of this world. So we don't surrender, we hold out from surrendering because we're holding on, and we've had these bad experiences that say, nobody is really I have to, make it myself. I just need to invest in myself. Perverted reflection, because we don't actually know who we are. We knew who we were, that spiritual consciousness, and we would be able to receive Krishna, and in that way be guru. In the sense, we'd be able to transmit from the heart in all of our relationships. We'd be able to bring God, we'd be able to shine as a soul in all of our dealings. So this is what is occurring with Vasudeva. He is totally surrendered as a husband and as a protector of, spiritually protector of Devaki. He's also, materially, but it's like he understands there's only so much he can do to protect Devaki from Kamsa ultimately, right? Which that was like the whole first chapter, right?
Yeah.
He needs to step up and like do what he can to protect Devaki from being killed.
Yeah.
But the real heart of their relationship is his spiritual protection and his role as the leader. So Krishna is manifesting, and he's showing us this is like really the position of the male in the kind of microcosm of a family, but also the spiritual master. And of course, the dynamics are more fluid nowadays. It's not necessarily so black and white, right? Like we discussed, what was that, last weekend or 2 weekends ago? That one episode where we got really, heavy into this.
The
one that you blocked out of your memory.
the male and female
yeah.
going on there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like this is the principle. We have to understand the principle. The details, each relationship is unique. Masculine and feminine energies are going to manifest in each individual in, a unique way. But generally speaking, and so within a relationship, you see that, but then also in your life with guru, this is how it works. So again, ultimately, guru comes in the form of your spiritual master in the flesh, your Vaishnava Diksha guru, right? Who is personally accepting all of your sinful reactions, taking them from you, delivering you from this material world, and giving you the yoga by which to invest your spiritual energies and go back home, back to Godhead, right? They give you that. No one else is going to, like, who else can do that but a representative of Balaram? Lord Jesus Christ is exactly that Balaram Tattva, Guru Tattva, right? The light of the world, right? The way, the truth, and the life. No one can come to the Father except through Guru Tattva. So the Guru Tattva has Krishna. They have Krishna, and they transfer Krishna to us through the heart. Through this relationship of surrender. This is the heart of bhakti, and this is what we're seeing occur in the hearts of Vasudeva and Devaki, as in the advent of Lord Krishna.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing when it's done the right way, I guess, you know, and leave it to us to just completely make a mess out of it.
Yeah.
So such a great chapter so far, really action-packed. That is definitely all the time we have today. I'm so glad we got to it, because that's going to be a very good place to pick up on the next show. Balaram, thank you so much for your insights. Another really good show. And I just pray that these shows are reaching people that really do have a sincere interest and can reach people that really want to stop, take time out of their busy day and just listen, and maybe use it as a supplement to their readings that they're doing on a daily basis. Again, this is the Soul Ashraya podcast that you're listening to. And this whole show is us just reading just the Krishna book. That's it so far. We cannot look into the future because we don't have that capability.
Glad you clarified that for us.
So if you want an entertaining way to read through the Krishna book, you found the right place to do that. Yes. So this is a podcast where we are reading through Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Thank you so much. And I pray that these shows go out and that people can hear and that it's blessing you. We want to be a blessing to everyone who watches. So with that, let us recite the Maha Mantra 3 times and we will call it a show.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama
Hare. Thank you again so much for watching us, and stay tuned because there's going to be a whole lot more coming your way. Hare 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 Bol.